Here in the rolling Eifel Mountains, between the Belgian frontier and the Rhine, lies the Nürburgring. The Germans began building the ring in 1925, and 2 years later, in 1927, its purpose being to serve as a test track for the German motor industry, and as an international centre for the sport of motor car and motorcycle racing. The ring, which is really a succession of mountain passes circling the Schloss Nürburg, measures 14.17 miles to the lap, the longest enclosed circuit in the world. In its length there are 89 corners to the left, 85 to the right, and all different. Overlooking the pits are the main stands, holding 2,500 people, with twice as many on the terraces and promenades. This is the famous carousel, Hairpin Bend. The start area itself is on a plateau 2,000 feet above sea level, and the road, of normal width, plunges uphill and down with no real straight except about 1.5 miles just before the grandstands at the start. Let's go back to the early days. Here's the 1927 winner, Otto Merz, with a big Mercedes. 1928, Rudolf Caracciola's first big win, also on a Mercedes Sports. 1929, the great Louis Chiron on Bugatti, then at the height of his career. 1931, Caracciola again with an even bigger Mercedes. 1932, a third win for Caracciola, this time on Alfa Romeo. 1934, Hans Stuck on Auto Union at 75 miles an hour. That was the era of the big car formula, no limit to engine size. And here's the 4.5-litre supercharged straight-8 Merc engine, giving over 400 horsepower on test. And this was its rival, the V16 supercharged Auto Union, which by 1938 had gone up to 6 litres and 600 horsepower. All other cars were outclassed. Yet in 1935, that great maestro Nuvolari beat the lot with a slower car, an Alfa Romeo. 1936, Bernd Rosmar won for Auto Union at 81 miles an hour. 1937, and faster still, Caracciola again for Mercedes at nearly 83 miles an hour. And now let's see what this big car Grand Prix racing was like at the ring. There's Caracciola, Manfred von Brauchitsch, Englishman Dick Seaman, Hermann Lang, all driving Mercedes, and the Auto Union team, Nuvolari, Stuck, and Hasse, with others making up the field. In 1938, 500,000 people watched the race. 22 laps, 312 miles, and 3,828 corners to keep the drivers interested. Mercedes and Auto Union were locked in a dogfight from the start. Mercedes with 5 litres and 500 horsepower. Bags of spin in top gear at 140 miles an hour. Tyres almost on fire coming out of corners. This was the birth pangs of the four-wheel slide. There was no other way of getting all this power around a fast corner in a car weighing the best part of a ton. Nuvolari spins out and bends his Auto Union. At the first wheel change, he takes Muller's car. Watch the pit work. No messing about here. Caracciola is ill and hands over to Lang, who'd blown up earlier on. And now the second pit stops for fuel and wheels. Brauchitsch comes in, leading the race by a quarter of a minute from Seaman. In goes the hose, in squirts the fuel at 5 gallons a second. Who said a hot exhaust won't ignite racing fuel? There she goes, and there goes Brauchitsch, convinced he's burned to death. And there goes Seaman into the lead, an Englishman leading a Grand Prix for the first time ever. After Bridge Kid, Brauchitsch got going again but gave up with his plug leads all burnt out. Hasse retires. And Lang's in trouble, and there goes Seaman. Seaman passing him to win at 81 miles an hour. And now 1939, shadowed by the war that was only a few weeks away. This was the first year of the new 3-litre formula. Mercedes went over to V12 engines with two-stage supercharging. Auto Union, still rear engine, but with a driver's seat further back, used V12 as well. Just watch the acceleration, faster than ever, with ZF diffs and de Dion tubes. Mercedes were giving 480 horsepower from 3 litres. And this indeed was motorsport. See what I mean about spectacle? Did we elderly characters exaggerate? And that was that. Caracciola wins again at 75 miles an hour in the rain, with Muller's Auto Union second over a minute behind. And then the war clouds gathered, and the storm burst. In 1950, racing started again at the ring, when a brilliant new driver, Alberto Ascari, won with ease on a Ferrari. 1951, and Formula One. One and a half litres blown, 4.5 unblown. The Alfa team for the first time fighting for a victory with their Type 159. 8-cylinder, 1.5 litres, with two-stage supercharging, against Ferraris with V12 4.5 litre unblown engines, with Gordinis, Talbot, Maserati and others amongst the runners. The Argentine Fangio leads for Alfas, but Ascari sits on his tail, worrying him. German driver Peach was on an Alfa, until he took it backwards over the head. At 5 laps, Ascari flashes past. Farina and Bonetto on Alfas both blow up. Peach is limping home without a car, and Fangio is left to fight a lone and losing battle. And now Ascari comes into the pits to change tyres, letting Gonzalez take number 2 Ferrari into the lead, lapping at over 85 miles an hour. Soon Ascari is back in the lead, and Fangio, to make up for a slow pit stop, breaks the lap record at 85.7 miles an hour. And so to victory for Ascari on Ferrari. Fangio, second on Alfa Romeo. And Gonzalez, third on Ferrari. And so to 1952 to celebrate the Jubilee year of Nürburgring. 25 years of existence. For Formula 2 cars this time, 2 litres unsupercharged, and Ferraris with their latest 4-cylinder model again invincible. Plenty of noise and activity in the paddock. BP's racing service on the spot as usual, mobile workshop going full blast. Change a Ferrari engine? Think nothing of it. But bring your own engine. Scrutiny of cars. They only measure the bore and stroke of the winners, just in case someone's running a 3-litre by mistake. All sorts of races on the program, including sports cars with the famous Mercedes 300 SLs participating, now in their open 2-seater form after their win at Le Mans. And so to the start of the first sports car race, a field event for Porsches only. Here's the start of the larger sports car class. Herman Lang and Kling, both on Mercs. The Mercs ran like clockwork, with Lang winning at 80 miles an hour and Kling behind him in second place. For the main event, the Jubilee Grand Prix, with Ascari, Farina and Trantino among the 18 starters. The start of the race was watched by Eichler and Schaper, the men who designed and built the ring 25 years ago. Farina in the lead, Ascari sitting on his tail. Taruffi hits a bank and comes in to change wheels. Manzon changes wheels too. The surface of the ring is murder to tires. 80 miles and you've had it. Corners, corners, corners all the way. And Ascari wins the coveted Jubilee Grand Prix and his third successive victory at the ring. And so we come to the end of the first 25 years of ring history. 25 years of motor racing history. And 25 years of progress too. For the result of the ring's grueling testing of cars, of tyres, of lubricants and of fuels have benefited all who use the motor car, for business, for pleasure, or for both.